Baruch Fleshman here at the Tikkun Elevator Kolo. I'm making my adjustments that I need in order to be able to get this video going. We're looking at the Sefer Zohar, Zohar Kodesh Menukad, and it says a pirush from the Matak Medavash. So right now we're down here in Parshas Vayishlach. And we're going to open up the book. We're going to find our place way back here. And let me see if I got... Here it is. We're on page Tov Kuf Vav, Parshas Vayishlach and the Matak Medavash. To start with, I'm going to read just the top of this. This is a little bit more than I wanted. I want to go a little faster here. So it says like this. I'm Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda was speaking. He says like this. My chama Yaakov the Esau. What did Yaakov see? That he sent these flocks, etc., to Esau. Varmaim Lavan Garti, and then he used these words. He says, I have been living with Lavan. Bima Ave Bishlichusi de Esav Milado. So in terms of sending all of this gift to Esau to try to appease him, how did it help that he said that I was living with Lavan? Ella Lavan the Arami, Kale Azehu Ba'alma, because Lavan the Arami, the voice that is his reputation had gone out into the world. The lo havas bar nash, the yishtasi v'nei, that there was no such thing as a person who got in his crosshairs, so to speak, and could be saved from him. The hu havacharash v'charshim, he was a witch in witchcraft. V'rab b'koisvim, and in charms and different kinds of necromancing, he was able also, a tremendous giant. Baboy the Baor, he is the father. His main son's name was Baor. And Baor, Hava Aboy the Bilam, he was the father of Bilam. So here we are people who are dealing with the nasty part of magic. Dersev Bilam ben Baor HaKoisim, that his Bilam, he was the son of Baor. It doesn't mention that he was also the son of Lavan. But of all of these people, Baor, his son Baor, his grandson Bilam, Lavan was much more powerful than any of them. Being called on with all of this lo Yaakov b'Yaakov, but he couldn't overcome Yaakov. Ubal the Yaakov became a zainin, and he really tried his witchcraft on Yaakov in many different ways. This is the meaning, what is written, Armi Oved Avi, that the army, he served my father. I think Armi Oved Avi, Oved is really spelled this way, it means loss. He lost my father, the army Oved, to my father. So let's look here now, the Zohar will go on a little bit more, and we say that this is what happened, is that somehow Lavan and his things became Meshuva to Yaakov Avinu. How did that happen? I'm Rebbe Abi. So now we're going to go down here. We're actually going to look at the Matak Medavash. I'm going to read it along as needed. I'm Rebbe Abba. So Rebbe Abba now, he mosiv al divrei Rebbe Yehuda. He's going to go further in terms of what Rebbe Yehuda was saying about the nature of Lavan and his witchcraft. But it's not just that it was a reputation, common voice, if people heard this, al rishas shalavam. But the Lavan chava rav chekimim v'harshim v'kaismen, he was the king. He was renowned as the king of all witches. He had a complete and clear knowledge. So these people who work with charms and the different kinds of witchcraft that they do. Now he says he wants I'm using now the word, I said, because he used that word aved, and I didn't really realize that it doesn't mean served him. It means that, I think it's lashon destroy. So he said, Misha Rotza, the Aved B'chashafov. He wants to cause destruction with his witchcraft. So a person like that he gets involved with him cannot be saved from Lavan. Everything that Bilam ever knew, he learned this from Lavan. Because it says in regard to Bilam, he says, Ki yudate as Esav as Asher Tivarek Mevorach, because it says, I know that what you bless is blessed, Basher Tower you are, and what you curse is cursed. Im came Lavan Vadai Shiyada the Kalo. So since we have those words coming out of the mouth of Lavan, then we understand that he has the ability to curse, which means to destroy. The whole world was frightened by Lavan and his witchcraft. So let me get this over here, and then we'll start right here. Now Rebbe Yehuda is coming back to what he was saying originally. Let's go back. Let's walk back to where we saw over there, Ubedava Rishon. The first thing, Sheshalach Yaakov Esau, that Yaakov sent to Esau, Amar in Lavan Garti, so that the first shluchim, came to Esau, and he says, I have been living with Lavan. Now here we had the background that the whole world knew who Lavan was. You will say, well, it's a short amount of time. I managed to escape. So it said it was a short amount of time. Maybe I was there for a month, or maybe I got away after a year. Not like that either. But I have been all of this time. I have been delayed all of this time that I've been gone. Pirish Esrim Shanin, 20 years I've been gone. Is Achris Imei, I delayed myself. I was held back over there with him. In other words, I held myself there. Esrim Shanin is Acharti Imo. Kamasha calls it Zeli Esrim Shanin Bebesecho, and this is the quote that Yaakov made to Lavan. I've been with you for 20 years, he said. It's time for me to go. V'yitabel the little salig biyadi klum. So then you say like this, well, you did get away from Lavan in the end, but if you say you came out with nothing, if you say, well, I didn't come out with anything, then you say like this, wait a minute. I have the concept, I'm jumping ahead. I have flocks, and I have donkeys. Pirish, flocks ashore is oxen, so I had oxen and cattle. And I have donkeys. Pirish inun tren gizridinim. But the reason why I stumbled there a little bit, because I saw this before, and he said the shore is the language of a very fleshy, if you understand a little bit of the astrological connotation of shore, which is Taurus, the bull. It's a very, very, loves beautiful things, loves physicality, loves smoothness and everything to go that way. Sure, that's the shore. But the chumor, this is a beast of burden. This is a treifa animal which represents the most humorous aspect. So he said, "V'hi li shor v'chumor," and now the matik is going to say this is the pshat in the Gemara. Inen train gizri dinin. These are two malachim. Heim shtei kochos of din. He said not malachim. He said these are the two kochos of din. What are these kochos of din? Shehem the zum the klipa. They're the male-female aspect of klipa. Now, if anybody listens to the shiurim in the morning, he's really pointing this out, because the real power comes from male-female, not from male by itself or female by itself, because they're sterile. But the two of them together, they could create tremendous things, and in this case, it's the zun of klipa. Yaakov called Yeshodet Aleichem, but the point is that Yaakov was control of them. In other words, he was got in control of the controls. Because he only allowed them to come together. In other words, that's how much control he had of them, to hurt bad people. Because when the two of them are together, the only reason why they come together, if they do, is to bring evil into the world, to bring punishment into the world. Begin kacha for this reason. Kesiv, Lo tachrosh b'shor v'chomor yachdav. He says this is the secret of kilayim. He says the reason why you can't do this is because you can't plow with an ox and a donkey together, because the two of them, when they're together, are tremendously powerful evil. That's what the Zohar says. Ki al yedei zeh, by putting the two of them together, Yikrom she'elu habebeis klipos yazik the b'nei ha'olam, that cause these two klipos to damage the world, to whole damage people. V'amar Yaakov le'Esav. So he says Yaakov now what he's saying to Esav, and the secret of what he's saying to Esav. She'elu habeis klipos hen kafuyus u'meshuvadim tachas yadi. He says they are humbled and in my hand. They are subjugated by me. I control them. V'ani oseh bechem kiritzoni, and I'll do with them the way I want to. Let's go on a little bit more. The Zohar says, Mamshek Rabbi Yehuda Devar, Rabbi Yehuda continues, and he says like this: Tzon uve'eved v'shivcha, because this is the rest of the explanation of his agent who is speaking to Esau. He says, I also have tzon, I have flocks, ve'eved, and male servants, and shivcha, and female servants. Ilun inin kisrei tetoy, the kushach berichu b'mitzrayim. So what is he saying? He said Elohim when he says what? Son ve'eved v'shivcha. These are the three spheros, hatachtonos shel haklipos. Now this is the nai, so he says the nai of the klipa, I guess he's saying. Shahared HaKodesh Baruch Hu b'mitzrayim. So he killed the roots of these klipos, that Hashem killed them in Mitzrayim, Kamosha Koset Bechor Behema, he killed the firstborns. That's the root, the beginning of the animals. Bechor Hashevi. So he also the male slaves. V'od Gesid Bechor Hashifcha, also the female servants. They're all their firstborns, their roots were killed. This is what it means. Tzon ve'eved v'shivcha. I killed out all of those. So he said, Pirish, Shomer Yaakov Shekol Elo Kochos. Haklifos. So he said to Yaakov, you want to know what I know? That is, Yaakov said to Esau, what I know? I know these kochos, these klipos. Misha Amr Yasha Kol Elo Kochos Haklifos, so all of these powerful klipos. Heim Nechnoim Tachtoi. They are humbled down and subjugated by me, under me. V'nimsarim biyadi. And they're given over to my hand, into my hands, I guess. And I am controlling them. Riyad Mistafei Have Esav. And immediately when he heard that, when Esav heard this, and he understood the deeper meaning of all of this. Remember, here we're coming over, he's living in the house of probably the most evil person in the world. A person who only knows tricks and deception, black magic. He's a Ravanava L'Kodamuse. Miyad Choye Esau Misyarim Yaakov. Immediately, Esau became afraid about Yaakov, because if Yaakov had these abilities to be able to control all of these forces of evil, to put them in his own way, to be able to use them. Then he goes V'yatza the cross of the Hispaiasim. So he went out. Then he's going to meet him, and he's going to try to make peace with him. And he was very, very frightened of Yaakov. Yaakov the Esau. So it turns out they were both equally frightened. In the same way that Yaakov was afraid of Esau, Esau was now realizes the power that Yaakov can bring. Now, let's look at a little bit more. And here's a little story that the Zohar wants to tell. I always love the stories. And he says, the Barnash Dahava Asa Ba'orcha. So this is the story about a man who was traveling. So he says that this, Animshal, the comparison here, is who the Yaakov. This is Yaakov. So Yaakov is now traveling. He's on his way. He's actually coming back into Eretz Yisrael. Sheneva v'Yaakov chaluk the darko, because it says in Chaluk of Yaakov after he left Lavan, he went on his way. Ad dahava azer shma al chad listim dahava kaman ba'orcha. Translation: Ad shahoya hoylech, while he was walking, shma al listim, he heard about armed robbers. He could list him echad, one particular armed robber, shahoya orev b'derech, who was lying in ambush along the way. V'hainu Esau, that is to say, he's going on his way, and now Esau is coming. That is this armed robber. So Pagabe Barnash Achra. Pagabo Yaakov Adam Acher. So then Yaakov met another person. Hainu Saro Shal Esau. But he says this other person is not just another traveler. Yaakov then searched. I would say that would be what I was thinking, that he was making contact with the Esau Baruch Hu. And as a result of that, he came to the prince of Esau. That is the main channel of evil that flows into Esau. And he said to him, Yaakov asked him, Mishal miato, who do you belong to? What is your specific destination? He says, this is the word legion is like the word legion, right? Like the Roman legions. He says, so this now he says it's the Tsar of Esau. He says to him, Ani ish ma'anshe osa legion. I am a member of the men of that particular commander. Shall osa halisim, who is the commander over all of the armed robbers. Kolomer, Ani saro shal Esau, that is, I am the master of Esau. Amalei, so he said to him, Yaakov, L'saro shal Esau. Now he's speaking to the master of Esau. Satei loch migaboy. Nada, turn away. V'lech me'amai, and leave me alone. Go away from me. L'kol man the kriv b'chadoy, because anyone who really wants to come and mess around with me, chad chivya ani maisich v'kartolei. I have a snake that I could bring to you, and it will kill you. Mishakarev alai ani maybe nachash acher. Excuse me, it's echad. V'charagoso, and it will kill you. Ritzon lomer. Masha Amar Yaakov, what Yaakov said, Vayhi li shor v'chamor. Remember what we said about these? There are two kohos, the main kohos, the male and female of the zun of klipa. I have to control them. Hainu kohos adin, shehem the zun the klipa, which you said previously. Shehem kapuyas tachos ragli. They are bent down underneath my foot. V'im ani rotza. And if I want to take them, these two agents of real destruction, I can use them. In order to kill you. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to say to him, with all of these different conversations, to show him that he's not afraid of Esau. Misyare lo mimenu. He's not afraid of the sorrow shal Esau, and he's not afraid of Esau. So that's why he says that right straight out to the master of Esau. Azal haku barnash lahaku legion. So now to the legion, which is he means that's Esau. Halag zeha adam shuhu sorrow shal Esau laosa halegion. He went to the leader of these armed robbers, who was Esau. Pirush chazav Esau. So he says this is what the Sar of Esau says to Esau. A certain man came. Who is this certain man? This man is your brother Yaakov. So he So he said, I would translate it, so cute phrase. He said, V'kol man dekare b'hadei, anyone that comes near to Yaakov to hurt him, Nashke, he'll be bit by chad chivya to who maise that he brings with him umayez, and it make you dead, kill you. V'kol ligion v'dochil, and v'kol mi shakara v'lov v'mevi v'nachash echad, they'll bring up a certain snake. Hainu so sorrow shore v'chamor maybe so that is he will use the power of the zun of klipas and kill that person. Shema haku ligion v'dachil. So when this ligion, meaning Esau, when he heard this, he was terrified. So he said, you know what? I think maybe it's a better idea that I go by him, and then we'll make an appeasement. We'll make a deal. So he says, "Akaven shura also zeha adam." But then he saw this particular man. Who is the man? Hainu Yaakov. Now imagine looking at it from Esau's perspective. He is coming towards the camp of Yaakov, and in the distance he sees a man bowing down to him. He says, "Amavai dahashter yaktilini haku ligyon." Yaakov is saying to himself, "I see him coming." Nifchad Esau, and he was frightened by Esau. Oy li sha'ata yehargeni, because woe to me, because now he's going to kill me. Zehar Ligion, that is, this armed robber is coming now to kill me. Shari Saged Vikarva the Kible, so therefore he began to bow down, and he prostrated himself before him. Hiskel ishtachva v'likro genegdo. Amahahu Ligion. So then the Ligion is looking at this, and he says, if he really had the control of the shore of Hamor that we're talking about at the Klipos, which we call the Zohar Venuk of the Klipa, if he really had control of that, the Kotla, they could kill anybody with them. Lo Sagid Kuli Haile Kibli. He wouldn't be bowing down, you're making this effort to bow down so many times in front of me. Ama also Legion, so the Legion who is Esau. He says, who Esau a believer. So in his heart he said like this, Ilmane Hoya Emes. If it was really true, you can say it again. Emes Sheyesh Nachash Biyada, that he has a snake in his hand. Shall Yakul Lahara B'nei Adam, that would be able to kill people. Lahoya Kol Kach Mishtachava Connected. He wouldn't be spending so much time bowing down before me. Shari Ligyon his Goyas, and now the Ligyon, he began to become more bold. He began to become very proud of himself and be upright. His skill also Ligyon, Shuhu Esav, his Galus al Yaakov, so he saw himself as much more important than Yaakov. Amar Holil V'kol Kach Kara L'Kible. So he said to himself, though, since he's going to such an extent to bow down before me, Lo Achtaline, I'm not going to kill him. I'm a begavas. He said in Gava, just arrogant pride. Hawil she Kara Kenegde Kol Kach, he bowed down to me so many times. Lo Arganu, I'm not going to kill him. That's the Zohar for today, and this is Baruch Fleischman, and this is the first day of the week of Parshas Vayishlach. Thank you very much for listening. Call 2.